Welcome back to the still terribly named OK Not OK podcast. I am the SportsZu, and today we are betting SummerSlam. Pretty exciting. It's the biggest party of the summer. But before we begin, let's look back and recap Money in the Bank. Well, we went 3-2 in our picks to bet and picks to win, as they were the same. Unfortunately, we missed Braun Breaker losing to Sami Zayn. Breaker was actually the favorite, so we don't like to see that one happen. But we'll talk more about Breaker and Zayn here shortly. We also had Chelsea Green lose the ladder match for the women. She was at plus 110, so we took a little bit of a swing there. She was the number 2 favorite behind Tiffany Stratton, who is at minus 200, and she did get the job done, and we'll talk a little bit more about Tiffy here. Either way, both of those were good picks, but I thought the underdog there was the slightly better way to go, but it proved not to be the case this past time. Anyways, we also had a great day in props. We went 4-0 in the props, which takes us to 4-1 overall in props since WrestleMania. So we did well in that the ladders proved to be very sturdy. Very impressive. When I saw the first time someone fell through a ladder, I said, oh, we're going to look great on these ladders. So WWE, wherever you got those ladders from, excellent job. Keep that up, because those ladders aren't breaking. Let's keep those unders rolling the next time we see ladder matches. We also said that Roman Reigns would not show up and that CM Punk would not interfere in the ladder match. It was specific to the ladder match. He saved his appearance for later on. So there we go. Let's get going on to SummerSlam. So quickly, as usual, it is the history we like to start with in case we can learn anything from that. It is the 37th SummerSlam, not that that's too important for today, but in the last 5 years, surprisingly to me, only 8 out of 29 title matches saw a title change. That is only 27.6%. This was the event where I thought you could throw out everything. Anytime you had a big favorite, you could actually have something big happen, and anyone that won a title at WrestleMania would finally be susceptible to losing here. So we need to keep that in mind, but in these last 5 years, it's happened a lot less than anticipated. So in 2021, we did have 4 out of 7 title changes, but both the WWE champion, Bobby Lashley, and the Universal Champion, Roman Reigns, both retained. So it was 4 out of 5 for the other titles, but those 2 top titles did stay where they were. In 2022, we had 0 title changes in 5 total title matches. So that was pretty recently. And last year, we only had 1 title change in 4 title matches. That was actually changed twice right in a row, as Bianca Belair won the triple threat match over the champion Asuka and Charlotte Flair, and then Io Sky immediately cashed in on Bianca. So, will we have another Money in the Bank cash in today? Let's find out here shortly. But that's what we have to go by, 8 out of 29 in the last 5 years. But we will note in 2018, 6 years ago, we did have 6 out of 7 title changes. So maybe we're looking at that type of a night. We'll just have to see as we go through this. So let's get it started with the WWE Women's Championship. We have Bayley as your current champion, but she's an underdog at plus 130, which is a 43.48% implied probability. And she will be taking on the queen of the ring, Nia Jax, who is at minus 170 for a 62.96% implied probability. Well, let's talk about both of these competitors. First, Bayley. Why would she win this? Well, unfortunately for her, this has been a pretty underwhelming title reign, and I'm not even so sure it's her fault. She just hasn't had the opportunities to have a really strong title reign. No really great competition there. She did have a nice triple threat match with Naomi and Tiffany Stratton earlier, but then it was too early to make that title change. Since then, not really much has been going on. We certainly didn't think Piper Niven was going to beat her, so there just hasn't been a lot of competition to have her have those top matches, so it just kind of feels like it's time to change this one up, unfortunately. No shots against Bayley. She's truly one of the greats. But why would we go with Nia? Well, it seems like this story is really going to be more about Nia and Tiffy going forward with that Money in the Bank. So they have this new partnership that's starting to work out. Tiffy's already, thought about cashing in a couple of times, but she's going to get a brand new briefcase on SmackDown tomorrow night. Well, let's take a pause for 1 second. We will note again we're filming on Thursday. So this is as of Thursday around noon Eastern time that these odds are going by. So they certainly could change in the meantime and based on what happens on SmackDown. But nonetheless, we're before that. So for SmackDown, we certainly expect Nia to give Tiffy a brand new, beautiful pink briefcase. So she will cement her partnership, I guess we should say. And then it'll be more interesting when Nia becomes champion to see Tiffy start to tease that even more to go against her own partner. And I think eventually it will end up with her cashing in on Nia and becoming a babyface in the process, because we just can't help cheering for Tiffy. She's so athletic and talented already that I think that's where we're headed in this one. So we will have to go with Nia Jax as our pick to win and to bet. Secondly, the United States Championship, it is Logan Paul as your current champion. He is the bigger underdog at plus 275, which is a 26.67% implied probability, while LA Knight is a pretty big favorite at minus 450 for 81.82% implied probability. Well, why would we stick with Logan Paul here? There are a couple good reasons to stick with Logan Paul, more than I have for Bayley, so I'm surprised he's a bigger underdog. Well, Logan Paul, we know he is a good special event wrestler. He really shows up every time out and gives us something to be entertained by. So having to have him with that title to continue to have these types of matches is not really a bad idea. But even the bigger reason, this is his hometown. We've seen many WWE superstars lose matches and titles in their hometown, but this is Logan Paul. He might just have a little extra say in keeping that title in Cleveland, Ohio. And lastly, especially with him, you just never know with his WWE contract. He obviously doesn't show up all the time, but there could be something in there about how long he has to be the champion, so who knows? So there's certainly a chance Paul retains here. He also said that he has something big planned in store, so maybe there's just something so overwhelming and awesome and cool that they'll just say, okay, let's keep this on him with whatever he has planned and it'll work out. I don't know, but let's talk about LA Knight. Why do we need to give this man the title? Well, he has been really hot with the crowd for an entire year now, but he's not been paid off with a championship. There's nothing in particular about this feud that makes you think that now's the time more than any other, so there's a little hesitancy, but it seems like now is the time that you either have to pull the trigger or just have LA Knight go a little by the wayside, which is not what we want. Which is also why I thought that this feud should have happened at WrestleMania with LA Knight winning all the way back then. But that was obviously not what they had in store. Nonetheless, this is seemingly the time for LA Knight where they have to make this happen. So because it's a mid-card title, because now would be a pretty decent time for Logan Paul to take a break and go away for a little time, we're going with LA Knight to win and to bet. That also takes us to our first prop bet of the night, and it is, will Jake Paul appear at the event? And it specifically says he must be clearly seen during the live broadcast. Well, why is this man going to show up? Well, it's Logan's hometown, so that means it's also Jake's hometown. So why would he not show up for this one? He does have a match coming up against Iron Mike Tyson, but that is not until November 15th, so there's plenty of time for him to take a day or two to come to this event. And that also leaves plenty of time, if he wants to to help Logan try to win this match. We've seen him do that before, so if he has something big planned, his brother Jake coming out is one way to certainly do that. Then, on top of it, remember, he just has to be seen. He does not have to interfere. They could simply show him sitting in the crowd at ringside, and you have won your bet. That's it. He doesn't need to do anything. He can just sit there, just wave to the crowd for a second, and you win. So to me, this one seems obvious, but surprisingly, no is your favorite at minus 200 for a 66.67% implied probability, while yes is your underdog at plus 150 or a 40% chance implied probability. For me, nonetheless, I think this is great. I think this is your money in the bank right here. Plus 150, we're going with yes for sure. I think this one's more like a 75 to 80% chance here. So easy yes bet for us at plus 150. Our third match, we'll go with the one non-title match next. It is Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk with Seth Rollins as the special guest referee. McIntyre is your current favorite at minus 325 or a 76.47% chance implied probability, while CM Punk is at plus 215 with a 31.75% implied probability. So, well, what do we have here? Seth Rollins pretty much said on Monday Night Raw that he's going to do whatever he wants in this. So his hatred seems to be so much for both of these guys that anything could happen, but it just feels a little bit more for CM Punk at this particular moment. Now, it certainly seems that the original plan was for Rollins to face Punk at last WrestleMania, but due to Punk's injury, it did not happen. It of course ended up working out very well with the two main events we got over both nights, but the original plan just didn't work out. So that feels like what we'll probably get to for WrestleMania in 2025. Nonetheless, we've got a long way to go to get there, but it feels like these three guys are going to be battling almost that entire time until we get to WrestleMania. So what does that leave us with? Well, I think the traditional booking here says that in where we certainly have many matches coming down the pike going forward, as this is just the jumping off point that the heel is expected to get the first win. So that certainly makes sense. It also feels like Seth Rollins is just not going to be quite able to count to three once Punk hits that go to sleep. So we'll see. Nonetheless, I think we're going to get a triple threat match at the next pay-per-view, pretty much guaranteed no matter what happens. But it's simply that because this is the start, we've got to give the heel the first win. Drew McIntyre is the pick to win and to bet. We'll go on to our fourth match. It is the Intercontinental Championship, and some may say that this should be maybe the easiest pick of all, but to me, it is definitely not. So let's talk about this. Sami Zayn is your current champion, but he's at a plus 900 or only a 10% implied probability to win, while Braun Breaker is at minus 3,000, which is 96.77% implied probability. That is really high, really high. Now we know that Sami Zayn has won as the underdog in both of the last two PLEs. So can he possibly do it for a third straight PLE? Well, maybe. At this point, we just shouldn't count Sami Zayn out. WWE knows that they can count on him to do a good job between the PLEs, to keep something going, and then to have a great match at the PLE. And on top of that, Zayn is leading all of Monday Night Raw in most one-on-one matches in 2024. So he pretty much shows up to work every week and gets the job done. You can absolutely count on Sami Zayn. But Braun Breaker, it just kind of feels like this has to be the moment, right? If he doesn't win here, what are you going to do with him? Are you burying him for a really long time if he loses here? He's just had too many nights with domination, too many spears, too many rib injuries that he's caused to other people. So it feels like if he doesn't get it done here, we just aren't gonna know what to do with Braun Breaker for the foreseeable future. And I always think it's a little bit of an advantage for the person who does not get the job done on the final night before the PLE will then be the one to take it home as a way to kind of make it even out, seem like they don't have quite as good of a chance. And this past Monday, it was Sami Zayn who ended up getting the last laugh as Breaker attacked him from behind, but Zayn not once but twice made Breaker leave the ring. So Zayn was the one standing tall. So it feels like it is time for Breaker to get that one final comeback and pick up the win. So I'm really hesitant to do this. 96.77% is really high. Sami Zayn is just too good to say you only have a 10% chance, but based on all of the factors we just talked about, we're gonna do it. Braun Breaker minus 3,000 is our pick to win and to bet. Next, let's go to the Women's World Championship, and this is my favorite feud by far. This has been so fun, so amazing. I hope these two keep going for a while, and there's no reason to think that that will not happen. So let's get to it. Liv Morgan is your champion. She is at minus 600 for 85.71% implied probability, while Rhea Ripley is at plus 350, which is a 22.22% implied probability. Well, the only way to talk about this one is, what's Dom gonna do? Well, anything could happen here with Dom, I guess. We know that he told Liv off in the ring 2 weeks ago. That made Liv cry and turn away in the stands and then burn all of her Dom and Judgment Day apparel this week. So, well, is there a chance that Dom sticks with Rhea? Certainly there is. And if he does, there's no need for him to come out to the ring, because certainly in a fair fight, Rhea just doesn't ever seem to lose, so she could handle it all by himself. But yeah, we know that's not gonna happen. Obviously, Dom's coming out to do something. So first, let's go back in time just a little bit. A few months ago, Dom threw a chair into the ring to Becky to help her to try to retain the title against Liv, that Becky was not too happy about, and then Liv used it to her advantage to win the title. And then the following night, Dom came out and opened the cage door for Becky and told her to come out and to win the match by falling to the floor. But of course that backfired too when Strowman trucked Dom, having him slam into the door, having it close onto Becky, and then Liv, of course, rolled out of the cage and got the win, in which Liv then smooched Dom. But that was then. So will we have something like that happen? Pretty good chance of that. Pretty good chance of that. Okay, so let's also think of one other specific circumstance we had. In 2001 at Crown Jewel, Paul Heyman had the championship belt in his hand, and what did he do? He threw it into the ring right in between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, making it seem like we were not very sure about who he was actually supporting. So I think there's a pretty good chance that we'll see something like that happen again as well. Lastly, we could just straight up have an implosion of Judgment Day where Dom turns his back on Rhea, joins Liv, just does whatever it takes to help Liv to win, and she then does win. One of those three things will probably end up happening, and Liv will find a way to retain the title. Which one of those it is, doesn't really matter for tonight too much, so we'll be entertained to see which route they go. So for this match, that makes it pretty easy that we will have Liv Morgan pick to win and pick to bet at minus 600. Now we do have two prop bets for this one. The first one is Dom interferes in the match what is the first weapon used? Now, they have to say this specifically that he must interfere. So if for some reason he does not interfere, then this bet just voids. So that's good because it's not an option for him to not interfere or for him just to come out there and just have one of them look at him and then lose because they saw him come down the ramp. So at least that's off the table. That makes it pretty easy. There are actually 8 options of this. We put this on the screen right here for you to see, but we are only really going to talk about 2 of those. There's only 2 real possibilities here. First is a chair at plus 250. It's a 28.57% implied probability. And again, we want to talk about Becky here. That was his original weapon of choice. So there's not really any need to pick anything else there. But secondly, let's talk about the title belt. That's at plus 300, so that's a 25% implied probability. And that goes back to Paul Heyman that we were talking about. Dom obviously could just see the title sitting there. He could again throw it into the ring for somebody to end up using. So 2 good options there. But because Dom already used the chair as his primary choice just a few months ago, that really seems like a strong bet. I think this is way over plus 250. I think this is about 85% that it is indeed a steel chair. So easy bet, chair plus 250. I will note one long shot here. I kind of like the ref bet at plus 1200 at 7.69%. I'm not putting any money on it. I'm not telling you to bet anybody on that either, but I kind of think it's a little interesting that Dom could accidentally push the ref and have that be the first contact against either Rhea or Liv. So that's a chance, but again, we're sticking with the chair. Now, the other prop bet here, I don't really like this one, but it's there, so let's break it down. Will a female wrestler expose a nipple? Wow. Okay, you only have one option for this. It is yes at plus 500, which is 16.67%. So this is not specific to this match, but I think it's pretty likely that if it were to happen, it would be this match. But we'll note that Bayley and Nia very well covered up. There's no reason to expect anything happen there. So let's just toss that one out the window. Okay, back to this match. So wardrobe malfunctions happen. These 2 have apparel where that's a possibility, but come on, this doesn't happen very often. So there's a really low chance here. This is way under that 16.67%. So I guess we do have to talk, is there a possibility they do that intentionally here? I mean, we are still in a TVPG era. I know this is on a premium live event on a premium channel of Peacock, so the odds go up a little bit, but we haven't seen anything like that for a really long time. So is there some chance Liv intentionally flashes Dom to try to turn Dom to her side? Not at any reasonable percent. And then let's think about that. Even if she does that, the WWE cameras know that's going to happen, so they're not going to show that. So this bet specifically says very clearly it must be clearly seen on TV. So there's no way that the cameras are going to show this. There's just no way. And a lot of times, even if there is a malfunction, there is some sort of delay, so they really do a black screen. So that should also cause a non-bet if it does not appear on the screen. As it says, must be clearly seen on TV. So due to a blackout, due to the camera intentionally turning away, there's just no way. On top of that, they're just not going to do it. There are cameras out there. Everybody has a camera. Everybody's filming it. Someone's going to get it. It's not happening, folks. This is not happening. This is not R to X-rated TV. Do not bet this. No bet is your answer. All right, back to the real world here. We have the World Heavyweight Championship between Damian Priest as your champion at plus 300 for 25% and Gunther at minus 500 for 83.33%. So, why Damian Priest here? Well, he actually finally turned face after all of these months of being a heel. So, do you really turn him face now just to immediately lose the title? That does feel a little weird, right? That does seem like they're just starting this now. So now if there was any reason to keep this on him, it is to continue this babyface run. Also, I mean, this is just not usually what Gunther does. His strategy is usually just saying that he's better, more prestigious, that he will just beat you because that's what he does. Him going to street trash as his tactic for trying to get into Priest's head is something not very normal that you see out of Gunther. So because it's kind of not his normal character to do that, it feels like he's a little bit more susceptible to lose. But let's go to the Gunther side. Why Gunther? Well, first and foremost, this guy doesn't lose. He wins. He's a champion all of the time. It's almost amazing that he's not been champion since WrestleMania. But of course, the only time he did compete, it was for the King of the Ring, and he won. So Gunther just wins matches. So it makes sense that Gunther is at minus 500 for that 83.33% implied probability. But the other reason, if you think of Priest and the Judgment Day, what I've been saying is that this is going to be an everything, everywhere, all at once situation. So if there's an implosion, it's all going to happen all at once. But is that this show? I think we could really play this one out a little longer. We could have some sort of scenario here with Dom in that other match where we're just not so sure exactly about whether he's really on Liv's or Rhea's side. So the full implosion does not have to happen here. It does not have to happen. So if it doesn't, it just means we could see this one go for a little longer here. We don't have to see something like Finn Balor coming out and turning on Damian Priest on the same night where Dom turns on Rhea. We don't have to have that happen. I just don't think we're going to get that full implosion right now. So that means Gunther's going to have to win fair and square, which he obviously does all of the time. But on the flip side, that means Balor could still end up helping his Judgment Day friend Damian Priest win, because you could say that Priest still just isn't going to beat this guy head-to-head, one-on-one, that he needs some help. And so Finn Balor still could try to help. He did just get choked out on Monday Night Raw. So you would think he could come back and help one more time, because Priest simply listened to what Balor said, that he did not want any help in that main event. And then after the match was over, Gunther did that rear naked chokehold after the bell. So Priest then came out and took care of Gunther to end the show. So who knows? But at the same time, Priest getting the upper hand at the end of the show is another reason for Gunther to win. So this could go a lot of ways. But I think nonetheless, we are more on the side of Damian Priest somehow retaining here. I think he has way better than the 25% chance. I think this is more of a 50-50 scenario. So in that case, I really like the underdog for good value. So for at least one more month, until we get a more firm set of a big final implosion of the Judgment Day, I think we stick Damian Priest with the pick to bet and the pick to win. Alright, and lastly, I think this will have to be the main event for your undisputed WWE Championship. The champion Cody Rhodes at another really big favorite at minus 5,098.04% versus Solo Sikoa plus 1,200. 7.69%. So I want to caution everyone here first. We've got to think about John Cena. Why would we talk about John Cena? Well, 6 times John Cena fought for the championship at SummerSlam and in the main event at the same time. So it had to be both for the championship and as the main event. A couple times he fought for the championship when it was not the main event, but we're going to leave those out because we really think this one's going to be the main event. 5 of those 6 matches, he lost the championship. First, in 2006 against Edge, he lost. In 2007 against Randy Orton, he did indeed retain the title to win. Then in 2011, he lost to CM Punk. In 2013, he lost to Daniel Bryan. In 2014, he lost to Brock Lesnar. And in 2021, he lost to Roman Reigns. So if you think Cody Rhodes is your next John Cena, this is a pretty good time for him to drop that title and start getting back on the path towards trying to win it again. So let's keep that in mind. Maybe that's enough for a 2% drop already right there. But really, the elephant in the room is indeed Roman Reigns. This feud has been more about Roman Reigns coming back than it has been about Solo Sikoa versus Cody Rhodes. Sure, the bloodline has been destroying Rhodes as well as Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, showing that Rhodes is now the entire bloodline versus just him. So we need to see how SmackDown goes here. Is Cody Rhodes going to stare into Solo Sikoa's face one-on-one inside the ring and learn something that we don't know? Will Rhodes end up getting the upper hand? If Rhodes gets the upper hand, maybe that's again more of a chance for the bloodline to turn out as the better chance of winning this. But we just don't know that right now. So there are a lot of possibilities here, more than you would think that this is just a standard easy Cody Rhodes win, even though you have to think that Rhodes is just going to hold on to that title all the way until WrestleMania, when he takes on probably The Rock or possibly Roman Reigns again, but more likely The Rock. But at 98.04% implied probability, that's really high. Does Solo Sikoa have a 7.69% chance to win this thing? That's what WWE history would tell us if you simply look at your biggest babyface of all time in John Cena. So history repeats itself. I know this is a new era with Triple H, but to me, I think that's a little bit too deep of minus 5,000 for us to bet that. If anything, I'd say to stay away, but we don't do stayaways, so we're going to split our bet here. We are going to say Cody Rhodes is going to win this because he's going to win this, but it's just too rich for our blood. So if we say to bet, do your little sprinkle on Solo Sikoa and see what just might happen. So I hate to do it here, but I feel less confident in Rhodes now than I have in any of the prior matches when he had similar odds. But somehow this is his tied for the most favorite he has been in any of these matches since he won the championship. All right, we've got several props we've got to talk about here. First, will Roman Reigns appear in the ring? This is specific to being in the ring. I don't know why Roman Reigns would appear but not get in the ring. Is he just going to go to ringside and do one punch outside the ring and call it a day? No, that's not happening. If he's here, he's doing the whole shebang and he is getting inside the ring. So I'm not worried about that. So if Reigns is showing up, that's what you want to bet for. So the choices are yes, minus 400, 80% implied probability, no, plus 250, 28.57%. Like I said, this has all been leading up to Roman's return. Why would you not return at SummerSlam in a humongous stadium, finally back in the United States? This is the time to do it. There's really no excuse not to do it. Yes is easy pick, minus 400. All right, our next one. How many crossroads will Cody Rhodes hit? It is specific to Cody Rhodes. We don't think Roman Reigns is going to come in and do another crossroads like he did at WrestleMania. So the over 2.5 crossroads is minus 175, 63.64%, while under 2.5 is plus 135 or 42.55%. Now, it doesn't have to be only against Solo Sikoa. That is not mentioned in the prop. It can be against anybody. He could do one crossroads against Tama Tonga, one against Tonga Loa, one against Jacob Fatu, and then finally end the match with one more against Solo Sikoa. So that would be 4 right there. Pretty easy, good chance there. Also, he loves to end these matches with 3 straight crossroads just to really put that exclamation mark on the match. So that could certainly happen if he's just winning clean for whatever reason. So 3 is pretty darn good right there. I'm not sure why you would not go with over 3 here. Is he just going to not have any throughout the entire match and then have Roman Reigns come out and attack Sikoa and then he hits 1 crossroads and win? I guess that's a possibility, but I think that's unlikely. Over 2.5 feels pretty darn good. We'll take that at minus 175. Our next prop bet. Will Cody Rhodes bleed during this match? Interesting one there. No is your favorite at minus 200, 66.67%. Yes, plus 150 or 40%. Well, we know there is occasional intentional bleeding in the WWE over the last little bit, but it's really rarely done. But SummerSlam might be the time to do it. You would expect to see it at WrestleMania or SummerSlam, if at all. And certainly we could see the Bloodline really taking it to Rhodes and causing him to bleed for some nefarious means, with hitting him into steel stairs or going through a table. Anything could happen there. There's a pretty decent chance of that, right? So it could be through intentional means, but of course, these things happen unintentionally too. So, I mean, there's what, a 20% chance he could just get a nick on his arm and bleeds unintentionally? It could happen in this type of match that we expect to be really physical, with a lot of people potentially involved here. So we'll note that it does say must clearly be shown live during the event. So I guess that's something to think about, but it would be pretty hard to hide that from view. So I don't know. Nonetheless, I like this as an underdog pick here. This feels like a time that you could really do it. So I like the yes at plus 150. Okay, another one. This is a strange one. Will Cody Rhodes mention Dustin Rhodes? And it says, must clearly say Dustin Rhodes, or my brother Dustin during the show, or anything like that. So there's only one option here. The yes is at plus 516.67% implied probability. Well, Dustin Rhodes is your brand new ROH World 6-man Tag Team Champion as of last Saturday. So he just became a brand new champion last weekend. And on top of that, his AEW contract does not expire until September. So we're just at the very beginning of August. If there's any reason for him to come back as himself, then it's like 2 months away. So it feels too early to bring that up. There's really not any reason for Rhodes to even speak. Will he have an interview before his match? It's possible, but that certainly doesn't always happen. I mean, it probably happens, what, a third of the time for a championship match? So it seems pretty unlikely that he says anything, and if he does, why would that come up? On top of it, of course, in WWE, he is Goldust. He's not Dustin Rhodes, so you could say Goldust, and that apparently would not count under this bet. So yeah, it's not happening. I just don't see it. Do not bet. There's no chance for no. We would tell you to bet no, but you can't, so this is a no bet. We're finally to the last prop bet. This is for the number of tables broken during the entire PLE. So again, this is not specific to the last match. So this could be any. It is over 2 is minus 120, 54.55%, and under 2, same, minus 120, 54.55%. So this is your standard normal bet with the odds, like you would see in a football game, for example. So just a little higher vig, obviously. But what do we want here? So we have a good feeling that the Bloodline might put somebody through a table, or Rhodes might put them through a table. And we know that there will be probably 2 announce tables at ringside, with the Spanish announce table likely to be there as well. So 2 tables, pretty decent chance, right? There's a chance. So the rest of the PLE, is there any reason for a table to be broken? Well, we know Seth Rollins is not going to be officiating in a normal manner, so there's certainly a chance that CM Punk or Drew McIntyre will be going through a table at some point during this match, especially when this rivalry basically continued at WrestleMania, when McIntyre went on top of the announce table and then Punk, took him out from there, that let Damian Priest get the championship. So there's a chance there. So it doesn't have to be the announce table, but I'm pretty sure it can include the announce table. We could get either of those men going through regular tables as well. I don't see that really happening in any of the other matches, but those 2 matches really have chances for tables. Now, the good news here is we don't have a half table as a chance. So I really like that it's exactly at 2 tables. So if it is exactly 2, we're going to get a push, so that is really good for us. So here, I like the under at under 2 tables minus 120. So there's a pretty good chance we'll get one table. There's never a guarantee that we'll get more than one table. So I think the best way here to go is you're under 2 tables. Well, we've finally made it through all of the bets, but I guess it makes sense that there are a bunch of props for SummerSlam. It is the biggest party of the summer after all. So as usual, make sure to never bet more than you can afford to lose. And mostly, let's just have some fun with SummerSlam. This should really be a great PLE. I'm the SportsZu, and this has been the OK Not OK podcast.